So table 4, we open 5-6 offsuit. On this flop, we get called by, is it a fish or? Yeah, we get called by a fish. On this flop, versus a fish, I prefer to just bet. I think we can get value from like overcards. Like a fish will often just like check call here with like king queen or king jack or king 10. He has a really high fold to c-bet though, but I'd still bet for protection anyway. If those hands fold, it's still a good thing for us. He does call though. I'd be barreling this turn. I mean, we have equity, and I think we can get him to fold some worse hands on the turn, like better 5s. I don't think he folds pocket 6s, but yeah, I think we get some better 5s and some folds with some equity against us as well. Even like just random overs that he may have peeled the flop with. He has a high fold c-bet, so maybe not, but still, I think it's just a bet. Going to be betting that turn really wide versus fish there. Table 1, we had 10s and we 3-bet a button open, I believe. And 7s, we just open under the gun on table 3. That's standard. I mean, yeah, 3-betting 10s. I actually prefer to flat 10s in general as like my general strategy in the small blind. And the reason being is because, this is lately anyway, I've adapted my strategy. I've been calling a lot more in the small blind with Broadway type hands that play really well against the button opening range. Because, like if we 3-bet a hand like Queen Jack versus the button, really we're not going to get called by many hands that we can dominate. So I'd prefer if the big blind isn't squeezing me a lot to flat a hand like Queen Jack. And I don't think people squeeze enough in this spot anyway, to be honest. So I think we can get away with just flatting Queen Jack there and having a really plus EV spot against the button open. Like a wide 50% or 40% button open. So because I am flatting hands like Queen Jack and Queen, even like Queen King and King Jack, I'll 3-bet Queen King a decent amount of time. But yeah, flatting like King Jack, even King 10 and Queen 10 hands there. I want to have some hands that I can 4-bet call with. And obviously I can't 4-bet call with Queen Jack, King Jack, or any of those hands, those offsuit broadways, or suited broadways that I named. So in those situations, if my range is such that I can be exploited getting 3-bet there, I'd like to have some hands that I can 4-bet call with. And I think 10s is a pretty good hand to call in the small blind. And, if you get 4-bet, if you get squeezed, you can 4-bet call there with 10s. I think it's a pretty good play, provided the big blind has any kind of bluffing range, any kind of squeeze bluffing range. Obviously, if you think the big blind doesn't have a squeeze bluffing range, then I'd just be 3-betting 10s. And, if your small blind range is different, like if you're 3-betting a much more depolarized, range, meaning, only for value, like a wider value range, like you are 3-betting those Queen Jack, King Jack, King 10 hands from the small blind, then I don't think it's necessary. I think you should definitely be 3-betting 10s for the purpose of being able to jam over more 4-bets that you're facing, seeing as you will face more 4-bets if that's your strategy. So I guess it just comes down to how you prefer to play the small blind. Personally, I prefer, and when I've actually looked over, I'll just pause the video here. Personally, when I've looked over other people's databases, most of the winning regulars, people do tend to generally 3-bet a more like a depolarized range from the small blind. So they do tend to 3-bet a lot more like ace queen, king jack suited type hands from the small blind than they do from the big blind. From the big blind, I think people call with those hands a lot more because you don't have the problem of being squeezed and you keep all the hands that you dominate in the pot. Whereas when you call in the small blind, you open up the big blind to overcall, and you also open them up to squeeze you. So for this reason, if you think the big blind's going to be really active, I would start 3-betting all those hands like Queen, basically turning Queen Jack into a bluff, King, and not like overplaying them post flop and turning hands like King Jack into a bluff. Whereas if the big blind's like more of a passive player, I think just calling is better there and keeping all those bad hands in. Whereas when you're in the big blind, I prefer pretty much always calling. I don't think I'll ever 3-bet a hand ever, like Queen Jack or Ace 10 or King Jack. Maybe King Jack versus like a weaker reg is going to call me wider. But yeah, like those medium strength broadways, I think it's better in the big blind just to flat them, keep your opponent's range wide, especially if you have a wide flatting big blind range. Like if you're flatting things like 9-7 suited, 7-8 offsuit versus like a button min raise with a wide range, I think it's important to have those like king jack, queen jack, queen 10, king 10 hands in your range. You know, you don't want to just be 3-betting all your strong hands there and be left with only calling crap, because you'll be really easy to play against.